Hello and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel, and welcome back to another podcast. The first podcast after a win, I believe. I think it is anyway. Today we've got Sam.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy? You
Hello,
good?
yeah, I'm actually quite good today after that last night. I've calmed down, my heart rate's calmed down as well.
And we've also got Sean. Back by popular demand. I've had a number of positive comments, Sean.
Oh, love
Great
that.
to have you on, mate.
Thank you for having me on again, mate.
That guy, Danny Welbeck, just to start it there. Sean, I know you wanted to talk about him. What a legend.
So, I spoke about it in the last podcast, which actually feels like a long time ago, even though time-wise it wasn't, but, a lot has happened since then, and I think the main thing with Danny Welbeck was always the confidence, the fitness, and the touch. And I mean, there was a few questionable touches. I won't lie, but he looks very sharp. He looks quick. To score one of the most crucial goals and the best goal of the season, if that doesn't do him the world of good for his confidence, I really don't know what will.
I'll tell you what though, when he scored it though, I was just in a state of shock because the way he hit it, I thought it was going over.
And the fact that the ball got lost in like the banner, I don't know if that was just me, but he hit it because of the fly and the banners. I sort of lost the ball, and I was like, this is either gone top bins or it's like gone over. But luckily it went in, and honestly, do you know what I don't know if this went unnoticed, but for me the most impressive thing was his runs. Actually, like he was always in the box. I think Sarr had a chance to cut it back, and Danny Welbeck, he's been shifted out wide, which personally I think most people agree should be up front. He doesn't stay out wide. With Pereira, he can just get lost on that left wing, and where Welbeck was direct, getting in the box, going for the cutback, and Sarr's crosses we'll get onto later in the podcast. But the fact that Danny Welbeck's making the movement, getting into space, and as a left winger to be in the perfect position in the first half for one of Sarr's cross, and then luckily it paid off for the second, and then the technique.
He channeled his inner John Eustace there.
He really did. We've had the fact that we've had, I'm thinking Dawson, Eustace, Welbeck, all in front of the rookery.
Nick Wright as well with Wembley. It's well before our time, but
Nick.
That's super crazy.
Birmingham.
They actually asked him. Welbeck, if he'd seen the Nick Wright overhead kick, and I thought, you've got to be joking me. He was an England international 2 years ago. I was like, I love Nick, but I saw him at the Green Man pub a few years ago. Like, he's a legend, but it's a bit of a push.
But Sam, just go back on to Danny Welbeck. Obviously, an unbelievable goal. A worldie to pull out in such a crucial game for us. But as Sean mentioned, his overall performance, I think in the last two games, he's probably been the biggest bright spark for it. For then, to be honest, yesterday he was playing out of position as well.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that with a player like Danny Welbeck, with all of his injury worries, it kind of comes with match minutes, and we've seen that slowly, the more minutes he gets, the more he improves. And I do think that the way Welbeck performed and the way that the team performed in general, with the non-existent Deeney up front again, it's just pointing even more towards the fact that we should be playing to the likes of Sarr and Welbeck's strengths, which is playing on the ground, getting crosses on the ground into the box. I know Welbeck's was in the air, but originally it was on the ground, which created the chance. And, I just feel so encouraging seeing Welbeck playing so well yesterday.
Tell you what, let's get the negativity out of the way. And the big one is Troy at the moment. We touched on Danny Welbeck playing on the left-hand side. Troy, the meltdown had started even before kickoff when the lineup got released. I have to admit, some of the tweets were brilliant, but obviously the overall consensus was that he shouldn't be starting. I think they've got a very valid point from my perspective anyway. I think Troy was pretty poor against Chelsea. Well, he has been pretty poor for a while, and he doesn't offer a lot.
I'm pretty sure you tweeted it on Twitter, Jacob_Culshaw. I'll give you a cheeky plug. But I did see you mentioned about like Mazzari obviously tried to shift him out the club, and Marco Silva dropped him. And do you know what? He actually has come out since and respected Marco Silva for saying everything how it is. And I just think, I thought of all managers who would have the bottle to drop him, it would have been Pearson. So, and he actually, not to say that, his poor performances are just because of De La Fey, because there's a lot of other factors to it. But, even just before lockdown, what we had Palace after, which I don't know if you boys went to, but yeah, he was completely invisible in that game. and all the games since. So that is one factor. He has not even put in a average performance. Any performance he's put in since De La Feu's been missing has just been unacceptable, to be fair. I mean, I don't know how much more we can say on it. I feel like we're all saying the exact same thing, but yeah, I mean, if it was me, I would drop him because the performances aren't good enough. He's clearly not doing anything, and if he can continue to play like this and continue to be, continue to keep his place and to start every game, there's no competition. Just look at Holebas when Messina came in. Messina was told that he was going to be starting. Holebas upped his game so much to the point where he was starting every game for a whole year.
Yeah, because Messina didn't come in for like 5 months or so.
Yeah, and he always talks about that now. He always talks about, it was tough for me at first because I thought I was going to be starting because Holebas' performances weren't good enough. I know he's not an England international anymore, but I mean, look at Danny Welbeck. He's sharp. He's doing everything right in a position where, even when he came in, he can play on the left, but he's a striker, and now I think the last time he played up front was probably Spurs away, I think, when he got injured.
All 4 minutes of it.
Yeah, I know, but even before, I know we were really poor under Kike, but probably our best performances under Kike were when he was playing up front with against Bournemouth and Sheffield United, and obviously he should have scored there. Confidence was lacking, but if he had that chance, that one-on-one against Sheffield United at home, I think he buries it now. So you'd have Sarr, and the thing is, we've always said it as well. Troy can't keep up with the play. Yes, Sarr should cut the crosses back, but even if he does, the only player who was there was Danny Welbeck, not Troy Deeney.
I think that's a great point, Sean. There's not many players that can keep up with Sarr. Like even Welbeck in his post-match interview with Sky and basically was like, it's hard to keep up with Ishmael when he's jogging, let alone when he's sprinting down the right. And then, to be fair, we've got to give praise to Sarr, the way he literally bulldozed past Kenny McLean. Sarr absolutely tore him a new one. I mean, the cross wasn't great. He got a bit fortunate, obviously, with the Max Aaron's clearance, and it teed up for him nicely. I think a point I wanted to maybe touch on, going back to Deeney, Sam, is there maybe an argument to suggest that if we did drop Troy, it would maybe alter the mentality, not having your captain playing? Would that affect the other players?
I love Troy to bits, and he's left a massive legacy at Watford. But people go on about all this leadership. Where has the leadership been? We're in a relegation battle, and he's been talking about this light bulb moment, and every game is important. We keep on saying this week in, week out on the podcast. But where has it come from? I mean, yesterday wasn't a great performance, let's be honest. That light bulb moment came from Danny Welbeck, not Troy Deeney. So I don't think it would affect too much if, the captaincy was passed around a bit for Troy to get dropped. But
would you pass it around at this stage of the season is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing. I'm more looking ahead to next season now, when if I see on the team sheet on the first game next year, Championship or Premier League, Troy Deeney starting up front, I'll be fuming. The other one that I really want to speak about was Kiko Femenia. Absolutely all over the place again yesterday. Some people have been saying he's all right. I think he's been shocking since the restart.
I thought he started shaky, but I thought he improved in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. I think the second half he did improve, but then that was also because we had to sit deep.
He got skinned about 3 times in the second half. The Edar chance came down his side, and we need to. I mean, I keep on saying we need a right back that isn't as attacking as Femenia, isn't as injury prone as Janmat. That right back position is massive in the summer.
I agree with you that he did definitely struggled at the start. I think there was a period where he kind of came back into the game, and to be fair, when you look at Kiko's stats, like he's always top of the interceptions. He's always top of ball recoveries as well, which is quite interesting. Even yesterday, when everyone thought he had a pretty poor performance, obviously you can look at stats whichever way you want to, but it's a difficult one. I think, to be fair, in defence of Kiko, I agree he had a shaky start, but if you look at the game since we come back from lockdown, I'd argue he's been our top one, probably in the top 3 performance for us.
He's just very inconsistent, actually, I find. He's had certain performances where he looks really poor, and other games where, he looks just classic Kiko and one of our more important players. But talking about just yesterday, to be honest, I think his positioning was really poor. And although he did improve, he did get better. I think that was more down to the system and how we sat more deep rather than, because in the first few minutes, I mean, look at their goal. It looked like a 5-on-5, and Kiko had 2 men on him, and Hughes looked like he was playing centre back. So then I think after the goal we conceded, I think we sat more deep. The equaliser was actually a lot more crucial than what I probably thought it was going to be at the time.
I think how quick it came as well, Sean.
Yeah, definitely. Once you're then 1-1, you've kind of learned from your mistakes. Then I thought, Kiko wasn't as bad, but I think it was just the positioning and he got skinned. I think the first 4 minutes was. It was a rough. It literally felt such a long 4 minutes for him, probably.
Yeah, I'll tell you another 4 minutes. The injury time towards the end. Oh my god, that was excruciating. I mean, great limbs in the Culshaw household when that final whistle blew, but it was it was pretty tense, put it that way. In terms of the overall performance, as we said, it wasn't. I think the couple of words to describe it wasn't convincing.
At this stage of the season, I think the performances are kind of irrelevant as long as you're picking up points. Like if we performed our best game of the season yesterday, but only got a draw or we lost the game, then we'd be sat here with more negatives than positives, because at the end of the day, we are in a relegation scrap. I mean, and that's the word, which is scrap. If we're going to get points, then it doesn't matter how we get it. So, I mean, I'm not too fussed about the performance yesterday. I do think that if we're going to beat the likes of Newcastle and West Ham, we will have to perform better. But I think it's just such a relief, and the confidence, hopefully, will be back up after that win yesterday. Look, we know we just need to kind of limp it out until the end of the season. Now, whether it stay up or go down, it's all about... you have to focus on this season, but next season is going to be probably one of the most important seasons in Watford history, whether we're in the Premier League or whether we are in the Championship, because, this squad really needs to be shaken up now, and I suppose we'll see what happens.
I was going to say, I understand what you're saying, that, of course, if we have 4 bad performances, pick up 4 points and stay up, no one is complaining, but I kind of disagree in the fact that I think the performance is still significant, because we've had such a run of poor performances, and the only good performance for me was the Leicester game, which of course is a good result, but especially in this stage, I think 1 win and we're fine. A draw, is okay, but it really is, we need to win, and I think the thing in my head was that if we didn't win against Norwich, that it was realistically all over. But if we had won, then we'd have the confidence to go on. But I think I spoke earlier, I think Danny Welbeck's confidence has gone up individually, but I don't think as a team we're any more well suited or well prepared to get the 3 points against whoever it is, if it's Newcastle, Arsenal, City or West Ham. I think we're kind of still in the same situation. We're kind of playing the same. Although I know we tried to pass the ball more, but again, the passing wasn't excellent. If we're comparing our passing against Norwich to last season, we'd have said it's a woeful performance. And I think just because standards have changed and expectations have changed, it just doesn't give me any more confidence into the next 4 games.
Funnily enough, I think I was looking at the stats yesterday. I love a stat. But,
it is a stat.
It is a stat. This is our new catchphrase.
Jacob, how's Nigel's bacon rolls at the moment? It's funny, half of Twitter actually believed you with that.
Oh, I couldn't believe someone believed in the comments. I thought, bless you, mate.
The thing is, the sad thing is, I actually found that quite funny when I was reading it before I tweeted it, and I thought, let's just chuck it up there, see what happens. But if you didn't see it, I posted a tweet saying, lying, that I bumped into Nigel Pearson at Vicarage Road. The Vicarage Road Wenzel's, which is a new addition. Whether we actually invest in the transfer market won't be an issue because of Wenzel's at the big next season.
He can play centre off.
And I said I bumped into Nigel Pearson at the Vicarage Road Wenzel's as he was tucking into a bacon roll. He said... no, I said big game tonight, Nigel? And he went, yep, the Orns are staying up, Jacob, which actually fooled a lot of people. And then I put the confidence level 3D in. I think someone replied, I love that. I was like, yeah, mate, sorry, it's not true. I had to actually reply and say sorry about that. But yeah, just funnily enough, in terms of the statistics, going back onto what I was saying, the pass completion rate went up by about 10% from the Southampton and Burnley game. So yeah, that just shows how low the bar was against those two teams.
That kind of says a lot. The fact that we tried to pass it and it was still only 10%. granted, I think that might have been because we tried to play direct with Sarr, and I think his crosses, he always fizzes it close to the goalie, which when the cutback is there, especially if the thing is, if Troy and Welbeck aren't keeping up, and this is what everyone knows, it's complete common knowledge. You think he'd at least try and cut the ball back to where they are, to where they're trying to get into, rather than straight into the goalie, because I know he can then palm it out, but you might as well just cut it back, which I think for me is the main problem with Sarr. But we did see, which we were speaking about in the last podcast I was on, we finally gave Sarr the ball more, and the second goal certainly came from him. So
the big positive, as I tweeted out yesterday, was Sarr for me, because the Chelsea game, I think he had 12 touches. Yesterday he had 39, so immediately that's a massive improvement. He's getting more of the ball on that right-hand side. He's getting into more dangerous areas. He won the free kick. Granted, he was a bit lucky with the cross, but it's still got, I think he gets given the assist, so he'll be taking that anyway. But yeah, I think the big thing for me with Sarr is, and the issue with, not the issue, but the discussion about his deliveries is two parts. I think, yes, it does need work for me. Like, I think he gets into some really good areas, and I remember Adama Traore had similar problems. Not that we're comparing those two guys, but with his end product. And Sarr has got end product, but more of his crossing and his passing needs to be worked on. But at the same time, I do feel there is a real lack of movement in the penalty box when you got Troy in there, and that's not to say to really criticise Troy to an extent, but he's not that sort of player. So when you've got Sarr running down the right hand side, getting into really dangerous areas, Deeney never makes a run across the box. And you may have also seen my tweet yesterday about Amrabat. We had the same thing with Amrabat. He used to get in those areas on the right, and no one would make a run across the near post.
When you go to the front post, it goes to. I remember Welbeck said it in his interview. He said, "Well, I tried to get into the near post. I thought if you're playing on the left wing and you're trying to get in front of the near post, it's just what is the thinking there? It just doesn't. Again, it just further adds up to why Welbeck should be up top. I completely agree with you, mate.
Just touching on Nigel Pearson, come under a bit of criticism, I guess, from section of supporters that tactically just isn't good enough. I think that's probably just being really blunt about it. Sean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do, and it hurts as a Pearsonista to say that, but I think I completely agree. I think his substitutions are, bizarre, baffling, I think is the right word. Actually, to be fair, I did think cleverly for Hughes was a good one, and I actually thought he was good off the bench. But Chalobah again came on, was exactly the same against Chelsea. Giving the ball away, looked rusty. He's a player who's been very up and down, I think, throughout his whole career, to be fair. And in such a pivotal moment, it's so late on, it's just a bizarre substitution. I think another problem is he's no plan B whatsoever. And he's totally reliant on set pieces. If it's Dawson and Messina being our most attacking players with the most shots, and I think he got away with it. I think Danny Welbeck really got him out of jail, in fairness, with his wonder goal. And for me, the last thing, I agree, I think he's stubborn tactically and lacks bottle dropping. Troy Deeney evidently isn't, as you say, it's not. I don't want to be completely harsh on Deeney because it's not his role. He's never played well as a lone striker. When you have De La Feu who can cut inside and is quick, and Sarr who's quick, and then Decore in the 10 who's box to box and gets in the areas, I think Deeney kind of gets away with playing deeper and just doing what he's good at. But without that, Sarr is completely on the right. It feels Welbeck is just trying to be absolutely anywhere and everywhere because he's been pushed out of position, and then Troy is completely invisible. So, and as I said earlier, if you keep playing that ball and you still keep your position, he's just gonna try and be big old Troy and win all the headers. I would say what Sam touched on earlier, which I completely agree with, is the leadership. I think he's always had that, even when the performances haven't been there. He's always had that, but I haven't seen any leadership from him. If anything, I saw more from Holebas, who's played like 15 minutes in the last 4 games. I remember I think it was Jay Demurray in the podcast saying about how Ben Foster was a leader just through his performances, and even though he was very young, and it's just, you know, performances do speak for themselves. So, but I think if he was dropped, and I've said it quite a few times, I just want to clarify, I do think Troy should be dropped. But I think if Troy was dropped and then you have, you know, Welbeck up front or whatever, you know, I feel like, you know, there's going to be more cohesion, more about us, more bottle, more fight. And I think that comes with how you're playing. I think, look at Liverpool. I think that was one of our most spirited performances, and that wasn't because, you know, I don't think it was we bullied them. It wasn't like in Arsenal where normally we beat Arsenal at home if we're trying to bully them, or I don't think that was anything about that. I think it was just the performance spoke for itself, and talent speaks for itself. So I think if he was dropped, there would be more. Yeah, there'd be more cohesion, and it would look like there's more to us, and you'd see more leadership on the pitch.
Thank you very much for listening to the WD18 podcast. If you haven't subscribed to us already on YouTube, make sure you do, and drop it a like as well. If you're listening on Spotify, SoundCloud, or any other audio device, I think we're on iTunes now as well. If you could leave us a review, that'd be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you very soon.